Most people believe change requires courage. They believe it requires willpower, discipline, motivation, a stronger mindset. But the nervous system does not change because you are brave. It changes because it feels safe enough to reorganize. This single misunderstanding is responsible for more failed change than almost anything else. People don't fail to change because they lack desire. They fail because their nervous system is operating under threat. And a threatened system does not grow. It stabilizes. Now let's slow this down carefully. The nervous system has one primary job: to keep the organism alive. Not fulfilled, not happy, alive. Everything else is secondary. So when people attempt change without addressing safety, the nervous system interprets that change as danger. Not conceptually, biologically. And biological signals always override intention. This is why people can want change deeply and still resist it. It is not sabotage. It is protection. Change collapses not at the level of ideas, but at the level of physiology. This is where most advice breaks down. Advice assumes the system is neutral and needs direction. But the system is never neutral. It is already in a state. And that state determines whether change feels possible or impossible. Let's begin with a simple observation. Notice how you behave when you feel safe. Your breathing slows. Your attention widens. Your body softens. Your thinking becomes flexible. Now notice how you behave when you feel threatened. Breathing becomes shallow. Attention narrows. The body tightens. Thinking becomes rigid. Both states are intelligent. One is exploratory. The other is defensive. And here is the key point. Defensive systems do not rewire. They repeat. This is not psychology. This is neuroscience. Carl Friston's work on predictive processing shows that the brain constantly tries to reduce uncertainty. When uncertainty is high, the system clamps down. It limits variability. It favors familiar responses. It preserves known patterns. This is efficient under threat, but it is disastrous for change. So when people try to change their lives from a state of pressure, urgency, or self-judgment, the system interprets the change attempt itself as a threat. This creates a loop. You push to change. The system resists. You interpret resistance as failure. You apply more pressure. The system tightens further. Eventually, exhaustion sets in, and people conclude something is wrong with them. Nothing is wrong. The system did exactly what it was designed to do. Now let's address something uncomfortable. Many people are living in chronic low-grade threat without realizing it. Not panic, not fear, just constant pressure. Time pressure, performance pressure, emotional pressure, identity pressure. These pressures don't feel dramatic. They feel normal, but they keep the nervous system in a defensive mode. And a defensive system does not change its core patterns. This is why people can sustain routines for a while and then collapse. Not because they lack consistency, but because the system was never safe enough to stabilize the change. Here's a critical distinction. Motivation is not enough. Motivation can initiate action. It cannot sustain reorganization. Sustained change requires regulation. Regulation means the nervous system can return to baseline without effort. Without regulation, change depends on constant control. And constant control is exhausting. This is why so many people feel that personal growth is draining. It's not growth. It's containment. Now let's talk about safety. Not safety as comfort. Not safety as avoidance. Safety as predictability and coherence. A nervous system feels safe when signals make sense, boundaries are clear, emotional states are allowed, there is no internal attack. Safety does not mean nothing challenges you. It means challenge does not threaten identity or survival. This distinction matters because many people confuse growth with stress. But stress and growth are not the same. Stress activates defense. Growth requires flexibility. Flexibility requires safety. Now let's examine why people often feel worse right before change. This is important. When a system begins to loosen, uncertainty increases. Old patterns weaken. New ones haven't stabilized yet. This intermediate state feels uncomfortable. The nervous system may respond with anxiety, restlessness, doubt, urges to revert. People often misinterpret this as failure. It's not. It's transition. But without safety, the system snaps back to the old state. This is why safety is not optional. It is the condition that allows the transition to complete. Now let's look at identity. Identity is not who you are. It is the story the nervous system uses to predict the future. When change threatens identity, the nervous system reacts as if survival is at risk. This is why people cling to identities that cause suffering. At least they are familiar. So when advice tells people to be a new version of yourself, the nervous system hears, abandon the model that kept you alive, and it resists. Not because you are weak, because you are alive. This is why integration works where reinvention fails. Integration does not threaten identity. It expands it. It allows the nervous system to update gradually instead of collapsing its model. This is why gentle change lasts, and forced change doesn't. Now let's talk about regulation in practical terms, without turning this into a technique reminder. Regulation is not something you do once. It is a condition you maintain. It comes from consistent rhythms, predictable boundaries, emotional permission, reduced internal attack. None of these are dramatic, but they are powerful. They tell the nervous system, you are safe enough to reorganize, and when that message is consistent, change becomes natural, not heroic. Let's pause here. If you've been trying to change your life and it keeps collapsing, let this land. It may not be because you need more effort. It may be because your nervous system has never been allowed to feel safe enough to let go. This is not a failure. It's an invitation. In Part B, we will explore why people confuse safety with stagnation, how to recognize when a system is regulated enough to change, the difference between calm and dissociation, how to stabilize change without control, and how safety creates momentum instead of stopping it. This is where the nervous system reset becomes practical. For now, don't rush. If this episode resonates, liking the video and subscribing helps this work reach people who are still blaming themselves for system-level patterns. All books referenced in this episode are linked below through Amazon, supporting this research-based work at no extra cost. Many people misunderstand safety because they confuse it with comfort. They imagine safety means staying small, avoiding challenge, or never feeling discomfort. But the nervous system does not equate safety with ease. It equates safety with predictability, coherence, and the absence of internal threat. This is why someone can feel safe while doing difficult things, and unsafe while doing nothing at all. Safety is not about what you are doing. It is about what your system expects will happen next. When the nervous system can predict outcomes without constant vigilance, it relaxes. And relaxation is not collapse. Relaxation is capacity. This is where one of the most damaging cultural myths appears. We are told that pressure creates growth, that urgency sharpens performance, that stress is the price of success. In short bursts, stress can mobilize energy. But chronic stress does something very different. It narrows perception. It reduces flexibility. It locks patterns in place. A system under chronic pressure becomes excellent at repeating what it already knows. It becomes terrible at evolving. This is why people who live in constant urgency often feel trapped in the same patterns, even as they work harder. Their nervous system has no spare capacity to reorganize. It is too busy surviving. Now let's talk about why people resist the idea of safety so strongly. Because for many, safety was never neutral. Safety may have meant invisibility, or stagnation, or emotional abandonment. So the nervous system learned that activation equals aliveness, that calm equals danger. This is not a conscious belief. It is an embodied association. And until that association shifts, safety will feel wrong. This is why some people feel restless when things calm down, why silence feels uncomfortable, Why peace triggers anxiety. Their system is not used to safety as a baseline. It associates safety with loss. This is not pathology. It is learning. And learning can update. But not through force. Only through repeated experiences that contradict the old prediction. This is where regulation becomes subtle and powerful. Regulation is not forcing calm. It is allowing calm to exist without punishment. It is letting the system discover, gradually, that nothing bad happens when urgency drops. That identity does not dissolve when pressure softens. That you do not disappear when you stop pushing. This takes time. And time here is not passive. It is exposure without threat. Now consider how often people sabotage safety. They rest, then feel guilty. They slow down, then judge themselves. They feel calm, then create urgency. These responses teach the nervous system that safety is unstable, that it must be earned or defended, so the system never settles. This is why many people feel like they can only relax once everything is done. But everything is never done. So relaxation never arrives. This is not poor time management. It is nervous system conditioning. Now let's return to change. Change does not happen because you decide to let go. It happens because the system no longer needs to hold on. And it no longer needs to hold on when safety increases. This is why safety precedes release. Not insight, not willpower. Safety. Now here's something critical. Safety is not created by affirmations. It is created by consistency, consistent rhythms, consistent boundaries, consistent internal tone. Consistency tells the nervous system that the environment is predictable. Predictability reduces vigilance. Reduced vigilance frees energy. Freed energy allows reorganization. This is the sequence. You cannot skip it. This is why people who change slowly often change permanently. And people who change dramatically often revert. The system reorganized too fast without enough stability. Now let's talk about what regulation looks like in real life. Not as a checklist, as a quality. A regulated system moves at an appropriate pace. It doesn't rush. It doesn't freeze. It responds. A regulated system can feel discomfort without panic. It can feel uncertainty without collapse. It can pause without self-attack. These capacities are not personality traits. They are state properties. And state properties can change, but only when the system feels safe enough to allow variability. Now let's address a very common fear. People worry that if they stop pushing, they will stop progressing. That safety will make them complacent. This fear comes from confusing pressure-driven movement with genuine growth. Pressure creates motion. Safety creates direction. Without safety, movement is reactive. With safety, movement is intentional. This is why people who feel safe internally often accomplish more with less effort. Their system is not wasting energy on defense. Now consider how this reframes your past. If change collapsed before, it may not be because you were inconsistent. It may be because the system was never regulated enough to sustain it. If you burned out, it may not be because you tried too little. It may be because you tried too much without safety. This reframing is not about excusing patterns. It is about addressing them at the correct level. Now let's connect this episode back to the quantum reset arc. Episode 1 showed that time does not change systems. Episode 2 showed that unfinished states repeat. Episode 3 dissolved identity pressure. Episode 4 revealed state persistence. This episode answers the next question. Why doesn't change stabilize? Because safety was never established. This is not a flaw. It is a missing condition. And missing conditions can be created. Now here is an important transition. Safety alone does not create change. It creates the possibility of change. Once the system is regulated, something else becomes important. Coherence. Coherence means alignment across systems. Thoughts, emotions, actions, and identity stop pulling in different directions. This is where the final episode of the playlist will take us. But before we go there, something must be said clearly. You cannot maintain coherence in a system that does not feel safe. Safety is the ground. Coherence is what grows on it. Without safety, coherence collapses under stress. Now pause and check in with yourself. When you imagine a future version of your life that feels different, does it feel calm or pressured? Does it feel spacious or urgent? Your answer matters, because the nervous system responds to imagined futures as if they are real. If your imagined future feels pressurized, the system will resist moving toward it. If it feels regulated, the system will begin to orient naturally. This is why some goals repel instead of attract. They feel unsafe. Now let's close this episode gently. You do not need to make yourself feel safe all at once. You do not need to eliminate stress. You do not need to become calm. You only need to stop attacking the moments when calm appears. You only need to stop punishing yourself for slowing down. You only need to let the system learn gradually that safety does not equal loss. This is not dramatic work, but it is transformative. Because once safety becomes stable, change stops feeling like a fight. It becomes a shift. And shifts last. If this episode brought clarity, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it helps this work reach people who are still exhausting themselves trying to change from pressure. All books referenced in this episode are linked below through Amazon. Using those links supports the channel at no extra cost and allows this research-based work to continue. Now we are ready for the final step. The capstone episode. How to shift your state and maintain a coherent signal. Because safety allows change, but coherence determines what comes next. And once coherence stabilizes, life begins to respond differently, not because you forced it, but because systems synchronize.